Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Did You Pack Snacks, a family travel podcast. My name's Colin.
And I'm Meg.
And this is the podcast, y'all, where we chat all things high, all things low, all the long miles in between. And in today's episode, what do we got, Megan?
We're talking about 5 fears that keep parents from traveling with their kids and how to overcome them.
Wow. Consider this an episode of Oprah Winfrey. We're taking it back. We're going to discuss the things that are in your heart and in your mind that you often think about. And guess what? It's on our minds too. Because if you're listening to this podcast, you probably don't need a lot of convincing whether or not to travel. But the reality is, even for us who we love to travel, we've been to 32 countries with kids, these 5 fears are on the forefront of our minds. We just have a little bit of practice in and a little bit of crazy.
Yeah.
That we're gonna feel the fear and do it anyways, but this is how we address those fears.
Right. And this is how you can address them too and book a trip to make memories with your kids this year. But before we get into that, we've got some little, what do you call them? Tidbits to chat through first.
Yeah, like how amazing you look today, Megan.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You look rested. You look calm. I think it's the cardigan.
Yeah.
And the little millennial hair thing on the side.
Millennial.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. It's actually kind of funny, ironic maybe, that I look rested after the week that we've had.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we told the podcast. Did we tell them?
They know nothing.
They know nothing.
A lot has happened in the past week.
Do they know about the tree?
Nope.
Okay, so a tree fell on our house.
They do.
Because we recorded. And then, after the tree, what happened while Colin was recording the podcast or editing the podcast is the power line in our backyard exploded.
It's like I was watching Godzilla and literally outside I see the transformer blowing up, blue smoke.
I was in the driveway with one of my friends, just, chit-chatting as moms do when their kids are asleep. And she said, "What is that orange light in your backyard?" And it looked like a street light, except we don't have a street light in our backyard. So I got out of the car. It felt like slow motion. I got out of the car. It was raining and it just blew up. And it blew up 3 times. And when I say blew up, I'm not exaggerating. There was so much fire that even our neighbor woke up and came outside because her bedroom lit up. Anyway, some really young, nice, I don't know why I said young, they were. Firemen came.
They were pretty good looking too.
Young chaps.
It was like if there was a calendar for firemen, they would be those 3 guys.
Well, I was so alarmed because there were so many of them. They pull up and I'm already feeling embarrassed because at this time, there's more nothing. Fire.
Yeah.
It had just happened and I was scared. And so they pull up with the sirens blaring and 6 of them got out. And I just said, "I'm really sorry that I'm wasting your time." He was like, "You're not wasting our time. You saw fire. You call us. It's not wasting our time. That's what we're here for."
And one of them even had his shirt off.
Yep. Oh my gosh. That's not true. It was cold and rainy. But no. And so that was a whole thing. Our power was out all night. I remember we were trying to tell Charlotte because she woke up, "You're safe," but it's dead quiet in the house and you can still hear all the trees moving around. And our sweet neighbor across the street. This is why neighbors are so great.
Shout out to Deb.
Shout out to Deb.
Our neighbor. You're the best.
She's the best. She goes, "Why don't you guys just come sleep at my house? I have beds already made, a bunch of extra rooms." So we usually, in a situation like that, I would just say, "No, thank you. I don't want to impose on someone."
And we did.
We're going to suffer. It's going to be fine. But instead,
we suffered for about 5 minutes before you change your mind.
And I said, "You know what? We're coming over."
Text Deb.
We had a slumber party.
Right.
Well, then I left town to go hang out with some girlfriends.
Yeah.
And as it happens,
when
a parent leaves town, things go awry.
Especially when the mom goes out of town.
Anyway, little Char, she always gets
We're talking RSV. We're talking trip to the ER.
Yeah.
We're talking Megan leaving and driving through the night to make it home to her baby.
Yeah.
And the amount of times she kept telling you, "Mom, you drove back for me." How sweet.
It was so sweet.
Mom, what you got?
Well, something...
I just called you. That's what I used to call. I call you at home. But
Okay.
Mom, what you got?
So I was thinking about something because my sister-in-law, they were just taking the nieces and nephews on their first ever airplane trip. But she was asking me about things to bring on the plane and 2 ideas that I don't know that I've shared yet that are really cool. We're going to leave the links below. One of them are called Wiki Sticks.
Ooh.
And our girls love these on a
That's the one that
plane.
you bought for the trip? Oh,
yeah.
love them.
We use them on the plane or in a restaurant if we're waiting, in between the time when you order and the food actually comes. They're basically just pieces of string coated in wax.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound super exciting, but just being able, the girls can mold and bend them and they create like legitimately anything in 3D. It's so fun.
Now that I think of it, like we paid for that.
Right. Well,
I could have made that.
Yes. Well, I'm going to leave the link, but then Amazon also suggests some other like knockoff brands that you just have to come up with your own packaging. So you can figure it out. But the concept of these little pieces of wax string
and
are
wax.
surprisingly
How much are they?
Attention span. I don't know. I mean, maybe like $10 for a little bundle.
Okay, it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Don't do it yourself.
Then the other thing we don't have, but I saw another friend recommend, so I'm going to leave the link because I want to grab it before our next flight. But they're little magnets that are like little men, and they all connect. You get like a bundle of 20.
Do they come in women?
No, they're just like a little human magnet. They don't like, it just kind of looks like a cartoon.
Okay.
Don't overthink the.
Okay.
It's just a shape.
I just want representation.
Okay.
Skin colors.
No. It's not like that.
Okay.
Anyway, they're just these little toy magnets that you can connect to each other. And again, one of those toys that is simple, but endless fun, not going to be super messy on the plane, easy to clean up. 2 ideas for you to snag before your next flight. We'll leave the links. I think they're worth your time.
Wow.
All right, Colin, what you got?
Yes. So we often talk about how we book our travel through points and miles, but I don't think it's ever been as true as this trip that we're about to go on. We're going to California, and I think 2024, I've just kicked it into like the next gear. Mm-hmm. I'm way more stubborn in that I do not want to pay anything out of pocket for this trip. Minus like your food, your gas, your experiences, but like flights, hotels, and rental cars, those 3 things, I'm like, nope, I am going to use miles and I'm going to figure it out. For the flights, there was a huge Southwest deal last year that we bought tickets on. We had some Southwest points and miles. We had a companion pass. So we booked 4 tickets there. So that got covered, right? So that was September. And then slowly, we made the itinerary. And then I was like, okay, I have enough IHG points for 2 nights here. So we booked it there. And then a month later, I had enough points to book another one. And then I had a Hilton free night. So I booked a Hilton free night. And then just last night, I booked 2 more hotels for another night, for other 2 nights. And so I've just been booking this trip sporadically. And I know it's not like, I'm not like blowing your mind with all this wisdom, but it just goes to show that you can book a trip and slowly pay for it as you accumulate more and more miles. And it helps to also have a strategy, So I went into this thinking, okay, I have this many IHG points, so let's cover that with this card. And then I needed to book another portion of the trip, but I knew that the IHG hotels were really expensive points-wise. And because we have a Chase card, I said, okay, we can transfer those and use Hyatt points instead. So then you kind of switch your strategy from spending on the Capital One card, we switched to the Chase card. And this is how we kind of just are going to California for free. We're not points and miles rich, but you can always have a strategy to book things over time and by using 2 or 3 really powerful cards. And go from there. And I just want to share this. If you don't know anything about points and miles, anything I just said to you just sounded like craziness. This is your first step. Go to thepointsguy.com and just get their newsletter. Type your email in. They'll send you news articles every single day. And you might not care or know about like 80% of it, which is how I started, but there might be one article about Disney that you really like, whoa, okay, that's kind of interesting. And literally that's all I've been doing for the past like 5 years, Meg.
Yeah, I know. You definitely jumped headfirst into making sense of this whole world, because I feel like a lot of times when we tell people, when we went to Asia for a month, there were like 14 nights that we didn't pay. It was all points and miles, and we stayed in like really nice resorts.
Yeah.
But we didn't pay for them.
Yeah.
And then like this trip, we're going to California, and that's like, $200, $250 a night if you're paying cash.
Yeah.
That adds up really fast.
So fast.
But we're not paying any of that. And sometimes we tell that to people because, everyone's really curious how we travel and how we keep bebopping around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell the difference between somebody who's like, oh, tell me more, or the person that already hears that that's a lot of learning. And they're just like,
wah, wah, wah.
And they're just like, oh, cool. And they can't even let themselves dive into it.
I'll just do cash back.
I'll just do, or whatever it may
Yeah.
be. But I do think that if you're looking to travel more, this is worth the investment in really understanding and learning how to get something for free and then make it work for you. I mean, that's essentially what's happening. And yeah, you can still be responsible with credit cards. You can pay them off at the end of the month, and you still get this bonus of being able to earn points and miles to travel for free.
I mean, we're just doing it for the memes.
Doing it for the memes.
And it's worth it. If you love travel, like, this is definitely the way to go. Go get that newsletter, maybe one day. I'm just not the educator type, Meg. I'll never release a course. So this is not a plug for me teaching you.
I was just going to say, like, I don't know if you should do a course or like maybe just
a consultation,
a call or something. Because if
jump on a call.
Because if someone doesn't have a friend, it's different learning from a friend and someone where you feel like you can ask your silly questions or ask it in a way that you're like speaking in like common language. So I don't know. I think that's the value, is people who are familiar to like your literal voice,
right?
But that also trust you, could feel like, oh, I could ask Colin this and I would maybe understand it more than if I just read some third party, like type it all out.
So there we have it. That is some travel tips for you so that you can better travel with your kids, so that those long miles in between probably don't have to be as long. And speaking of long miles, speaking of traveling with kids, we're going to dive into some of the biggest fears that parents face when they are traveling, or that is prohibiting you from traveling. And I kind of just want to list them out before we like kind of dive into this.
Okay, I'll share them.
Yeah.
Number 1, the belief that the world is a bad place and it's not safe.
Yeah.
Number 2, I can't imagine being on a plane for that long.
Woo.
That's real.
Or car or train.
Or anything. Number 3, I can't justify the cost. They're too young. Is it worth it?
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, what if I encounter sickness or an emergency? What would I do?
Yep.
And then number 5, what if I can't find
blank.
Food, medication, formula,
Wipes.
anything that you need. What if I can't find it? And kind of like what Colin said earlier, all of these fears, I feel like we still encounter when we're packing for a trip.
100%. Like, I am so nervous before every single trip that we go on. But I know that, like, I will only feel good after we get to the hotel the first day.
Yeah. Or you just have to flex the muscle a little bit. So we're not coming at this from a place where we're experts. We're going to just chat through it and share some of our internal dialogue that allows us to continue traveling and facing these fears kind of head on to make experiences with our kids.
Yeah. And the goal is not to like get rid of the fears.
No.
You're human. We're human. They're going to be there.
Yeah.
All right. First one, Megan. The world is a bad place. I just do not feel safe. Like, I just don't think the world's that great.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Well, I think that this is kind of just the filter in which some people see the world. So
I would say 50% of the people
would
see the
view
world
the
like
world
that.
as not safe. So I would say that we're not here to change your filter. That's your perspective.
Now, we're obviously on the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I think the world's a good place. Yes, bad things could happen.
But most people are good.
Yeah. Innately, I believe in a good world.
Right. So maybe that speaks a little bit to why we feel comfortable going to so many places, because that value is strong. But if your value or if your perspective is that the world isn't safe, then I would say that one of the things you could do to kind of step over that and still experience travel with your family is try to think about booking travel in a tour group or booking a guide. So for instance, when we brought Charlotte to Egypt, she was 9 or 10 months old.
Yeah.
And we'd never been to Egypt. Honestly, we didn't do a lot of like research before arriving. It was kind of just...
We were young and dumb and fun, Megan.
Yeah. But one of the things that we did right is when we got there and we kind of realized, okay, the culture and the traffic and the driving and just the overall vibe felt a lot more challenging than what we expected.
It was overwhelming.
We didn't want to go in blind, and we knew that it wasn't necessarily in our best interest to go in blind, especially with a baby. So we booked basically a tour guide. And she picked us up at our hotel. She brought us everywhere. She took us to restaurants, brought us to the pyramids. I mean, spent all day with us. Yeah. So much so that we extended our tour because there were other places that we wanted to see. Yeah. And we felt most comfortable going with someone who spoke the language because they were crowded markets and places of town in the city that we had no idea where we were going.
And she was the best.
She was kind.
Her name is slipping my mind. I know
Manar.
Manar.
Yep.
She was so kind. She was studying to get a doctorate in Egyptian studies. She's probably holding 2 PhDs by now. So tour guides are the way to go. And in literally everywhere that we've been, I don't think I have met or known a tour guide that I didn't quite like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because this is their job. Their job is to make tourists happy. And of course, read the reviews. And we obviously are, Megan, not me, is diligent in that. So I think that's why we're lucky. But besides tour guides, you can also go with friends, like book a friends trip. Like if you're scared to go somewhere, or you can also go meet a friend that you already know in a country. It's insane how much knowing just one person can change your whole experience of a country. You know, like we didn't know anybody in Vietnam, but as soon as we met the tour guide, we hung out again. He brought us coffee. You know, he took me on a motorcycle ride. Like all of a sudden, I'm like, Vietnam is awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
And just like having the perspective of if you feel like you don't want to navigate something by yourself because it's a new culture, a new environment, you don't have to. So whether it's booking a personal guide, going on a group tour, there are a lot of opportunities now to just be a part of a group. So your entire family can join a few other families to go on a trip together, strangers or friends. Yeah. Or like Colin was saying, when you get somewhere, maybe you just book 2 or 3 tours. You know, maybe you're in Bangkok. You book a food tour, then you book a market tour. Then 3 days in, all of a sudden, you know 3 local people that you can gain wisdom and insight from and kind of circle back, maybe book another tour with them. All that to say, I think it's totally something that you can step over and still experience travel in the world by just having connections with people wherever you're planning on visiting. And I think that will make you and your family just feel a whole lot more safe and just confident in exploring a new culture. Okay, so number 2, I can't imagine being on a plane for that long.
Well, my friend, this is the whole reason why we have this podcast now. The first advice I would give you is, did you pack snacks?
Did you pack snacks for you and everyone on the plane?
But really, scientifically, like it makes so much sense. If you are not hangry, everyone is having a better time. We even have this rule where, like, if we get into an argument, let's stop at a cafe, get a latte.
We never fight, though.
Oh, come on, Megan. There's been lots of tears. But we'll stop at a cafe, get something sweet or a snack, but you know, and then really it's just the blood sugars.
Yeah, I would say that's part of it. But also, like, speaking from someone who was just on a 16-hour flight and couldn't wait to get off. Yeah. And that wasn't even because of my children. That was just because of my surroundings. Yeah. It ends. So, like, just the mantra of, like, this doesn't last forever. Like, this is such a short amount of time in the grand scheme of things. It's just kind of something that you have to do. It's a requirement to do in order to see really beautiful places. But I will say that an overall tip, if long plane rides are overwhelming to you, just book the layover. It sounds like a great idea to just knock it out. Just book 16 hours direct when you're thinking about going to Asia from the US, right? Let's just knock it out. But maybe that's not your best yes. Right. Maybe going halfway, getting off the plane, even though you're tired, getting a meal, stretching, getting on another plane. Just that mental energy of knowing that you're only doing like 6 hours at a time.
Okay, so you're do like just fly halfway,
maybe
or do
just
like a
fly halfway.
stopover.
If you're overwhelmed, if this is something that's kind of keeping you up at night, how am I going to survive 16 hours on a plane with my baby? Don't do 16 hours.
Yeah.
Cut it in half. So then if you have a bad experience, everybody gets a reset. You get to get off the plane, you get back on, you get to try again.
Yeah.
I definitely think increasing the duration of a flight can happen when your kids are getting older and with more experience. But
or when they're super young.
But I'm just saying, if you're feeling anxious or nervous about keeping your toddler still for that long, don't. Just book a layover. Stay somewhere halfway.
Yeah.
Break up the flights. That way, if you make everyone around you really mad, you only have to see them for 6 hours. And then you get a new crowd of people that are smiling and think your kids are the cutest. And you get to have a second chance.
Okay, but what about the actual being in the plane itself? So I'm picturing the mom, kind of like us, who man, traveling is so easy. And then they turn 16 months old. Yeah. And then all they want to do is crawl around. Well, so what do you do about that age bracket?
I would say...
Because our kids now are angels.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're really great. It gets a lot easier as they get older. But I would say from 16 months to 24 months, it's hard. Yeah. Because right around 2 years, you're going to be able to distract them with screens. Right. But that is going to be something that they have to work up to. Yeah. Not every toddler's really into that. So I would say that duration is just a little bit hard. So maybe it's the answer is okay, wait a couple months before you travel. Maybe wait until they're 2 to go to Asia. Yeah. Maybe book a closer vacation. Maybe just kind of, unless your siblings are getting married and this destination is a requirement at this exact point in their development, then you just got to kind of deal with the hand that you've been dealt. Right. But I do think taking into consideration how they are in a plane, and honestly, how they are in a plane is very similar to how they are in a car. Yeah. So if car rides are hard, you can kind of expect that it might feel the same on a plane. So you can even kind of judge that to know if you're ready to take one of those long legs with your kids. And I like to say this too, just as in the airplane where they say, put on your oxygen mask before you help someone else. Parents, if you are in a better mood, if you are in a good mood, the chances of your kids having a good time is also very high. Yeah, that's true. If you are enjoying life and you're happy and you're just grabbing life by the horns on the plane. You are going on walks with them on the plane. You are meeting strangers, having small conversations, talking to your air host and hostesses, and you're getting snacks. You bought a big bag of snacks and you're okay, you don't like this toy? Well, wait till you see my next one. And if you are just going in with this, and if you're feeling better too, if you yourself packed your favorite chocolate bar or ordered a glass of wine or something or you're watching your favorite movie and you're letting them watch their favorite show, if you're having a good time, chances are they're going to have a good time too. That's a good word. Yeah. All right, moving on. I can't justify the cost. They're too little. Is it even worth it? What would you say to that? Yeah, this is a real one because we traveled a lot with them, especially Liv. She began traveling at age 2 and has only known life on the plane, life on the go. We would be grocery shopping and she'd be like, remember that time in Iceland? Yeah. She also has a really good memory. So she's always remembering these little moments, which speaks to this. Yeah. She remembers. Yeah. And we've created these sweet family moments and memories. We talk about them all the time. When we come home, I have little photo albums I just print out at Walgreens or CVS, old school, so that they can flip through. That helps them remember even more of these experiences. And we've kind of just cultivated our family around just being able to enjoy those moments together, recall on them. And I think for me, at least, which I know I interrupted you, but I think for me, I'm just waiting to talk, Megan. It's important to me. And that's why it's important to us, or it's something that me and you love to do. Yeah. And so we're just taking our kids along on the things that we love to do. So if you are a sports game fanatic, you're likely going to start bringing your kids to sports games far before they fully appreciate what's going on, just because you want them in the culture. You want them in the moment. You want them chanting the chants. Yeah. Or enjoying that last minute I don't know, field goal.
Yeah.
Like you just want them to be there with you because you love it so much.
Like I am dying for the girls to put on some Manchester United jerseys. We've bought them, which is a big step. We bought them at the night market, but I am dying for them to just say one day, a Saturday morning, they go, Dad, look, we know you have a game on. We put our jerseys on too. And let me go make the popcorn. And they just sit there with me and watch the games. I am dying for that to happen.
Because you value that. You love that. And so
Yeah.
there's not necessarily an age that they have to reach in order to enjoy that with you.
Yeah.
So I would say the same things about travel. You know, if this question I think is just for somebody who maybe loves traveling, but then they're trying to decide, do I wait until they're 10? Do I wait until they're a certain age to actually do the thing?
Nah.
And I would say no.
Just do it.
I would say just bring them. You know,
Bring
it's
'em.
definitely worth it.
Yeah.
You're never going to regret the time that you spend together doing the thing that you love.
Yeah. Okay. The part of the question too is actual costs, actual finances. And so for people that are traveling, even for us, you know, sometimes I have to like swallow my joy because, is that even a right term? I have to be upset because I know that right now, Megan, I can't afford Switzerland.
Yeah.
Or right now I can't afford New Zealand, but what I can afford is Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And so yes, I can't justify it. But then when I'm in Puerto Rico, I go, okay, you know, maybe this like nighttime boat ride to go see a bioluminescent bay, it's like $80 per person. Is it going to be worth it? Sometimes I bite the bullet.
Yeah.
Because you know what? It's about the memories. It's about the shared experiences you have with your kids. For us, what we value is years down the road when we're gathered around for dinner, the stories that we're going to tell each other, the stories that we're going to laugh about, cry about. And those things matter to us. So like that is how I justify things. But yes, cost is a prohibitor. Like I don't know when we'll be able to afford, you know, first class flights or that road trip around the South Island of New Zealand. Like that is still on my bucket list.
For sure.
You know, and that's okay. But what you just kind of like pick your battles and pick your sacrifices, that's what I would say.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Sickness or emergencies, which
Ooh.
this, if you're a listener, you know, this is probably my number one fear.
Is it really?
Well, yeah, maybe not my number one fear, my number one hesitation. It's like when we're getting ready for a trip and I have my list, there are a lot of things that I do in order to prepare myself for the worst case scenario.
Man, I just realized my fear is not even listed on this whole thing.
But what is it?
The fear, the lack of, it's like FOMO / like lack of planning. Like did I figure everything out to make sure everything is smooth?
Yeah.
Like, did I plan it good enough?
To make sure you didn't miss out on something.
Yeah. Okay, but you go talk about sickness real quick.
Okay, so sickness, this is what I would tell someone that maybe feels like I'm nervous to travel because I don't want my kids to get sick and they're not going to have what they need. Well, the great thing is there are hospitals and medical care everywhere. I wouldn't say that it's all treated equal. I'm not going to tell you that. But I do think that there are places that you can visit. I would say Europe is one of them, that pretty much anywhere you went in Europe, you're going to be close to good medical care.
Good pharmacies.
I would
every
say
corner.
when you're in Asia, Southeast Asia, if you're in a city, you're going to be close to good medical care.
Great medical care.
And so it's kind of like Colin was saying, how we judge where we're going based on your budget, or you judge where you're going based on the ages of your kids. If this is something that you need, like, to think through a little bit more, something that makes you a little apprehensive, then it's okay to choose where you're going based on the quality of medical care that you know will be there should something happen.
Yeah.
Some things that you can do, though, to kind of quiet that in your mind. One, you can purchase great health insurance or travel insurance while you're abroad. We prefer to use World Nomads.
Yeah.
Basically, you tell them where you're going, how many people are in your family, how long you're going to be there. They shoot you back a quote that's very reasonable, that covers the entire duration of your trip and covers a whole slew of things that could go wrong that they will pay for and reimburse you for. And again, if you've listened to the podcast before, we had an entire episode where we talked about travel insurance, our experience with World Nomads, and how they basically saved our tails when our daughter was hospitalized in Thailand. They not only paid her $20,000 US dollar hospital bill, but they bought us tickets home so that we could get back to America after she was better. And they reimbursed us for canceled travel expenses for the cities that we weren't able to visit because we had to end our trip a little sooner.
And guess where we were going after Thailand?
To New Zealand. It almost happened once, and it hasn't happened since.
We're coming for you.
We're coming for you. But travel insurance is something that you may just think, oh, I don't need it. That's an extra expense.
Yeah.
And our personal recommendation would be to always get it, especially because we personally benefited from it.
100%.
The second thing I would say is to bring some things with you. Yes, you can get over-the-counter medicine anywhere in the world. The only thing that I would do a little precursor for is if you have a child that's a little, how should I say this?
I mean, you have picky eaters, and you also have picky medicine eaters.
Yes, medicine takers.
Medicine takers.
So anyway, yes, they have these medications all over the world. You can access them. They're likely called a different thing, but it's the same ingredients that are going to do the same thing for your body.
Right.
But like, for instance, when the girls were sick in Malaysia, it was so hard to get Liv to take the medication because she doesn't like the new flavors. She wanted
Tylenol.
She wanted her comfort flavors. She wanted the grape or the cherry or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you're traveling and you're going somewhere,
she did not want Asian bubblegum flavor.
She did not.
No.
And it was a challenge.
Or banana flavor. No.
So if you're traveling somewhere for a week or two, just bring it with you. If you bring it in your checked bag, they're not even going to touch it. You can bring them in your carry-on bag, and all they're going to do, it's going to take a little longer to go through security. They're going to open every one, test the liquid inside, but you get to keep those medications on you. So I usually bring, just for any moms listening, I usually bring some Tylenol. I bring some Benadryl. I bring some Dramamine. I bring some, I don't know, I can't even think right now. I kind of bring something that fits every category.
Zyrtec.
So I bring it all.
I
literally bring one thing of everything and usually 2 things of Tylenol. So anyway, and this again is just for families. I don't want to keep chatting about it, but just for families who don't have specific medical needs. Like if you're just worried about the common cold or catching the flu or catching something like that overseas. But obviously, if you have a specific circumstance that prohibits you from traveling or makes you nervous about traveling, that might require a longer conversation. But just for the generic kid sicknesses, you're going to be okay.
But even in the more like drastic or severe instances, like anytime we were at a hospital, anytime we were in urgent care, anything that we were provided with, whether it was a hospital in a small town of Vietnam, or we were in my hometown at a clinic, which had not FDIC, what's it called?
FDA
Approved Medication. Like, like you said earlier, the same ingredients, the same medication exists no matter where you are.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter. And every time we cross-referenced with our local pediatrician, they're like, yep, that's exactly what I would have done. They did the right thing. And so that's at least, us giving you our experience of how things have went. And so, besides World Nomads, packing your own medication, and sometimes we've even, anticipated, like, what if this happens? We would need XYZ. And you have gone to our doctors and said, hey, we're going to this part of the world. We need this. And they are happy to write a prescription.
Yeah. For instance, I've asked for like antibiotics before.
Yeah.
You can ask your pediatrician for anything. So in a worst case scenario, or not even worst case, but if you're in a pickle and you would just rather take something that you're familiar with, just bring it with you. I don't think that any of that pre-trip planning is silly.
Yeah.
I mean, I am in your lane. That's exactly what I'm doing to help my family travel. It's one of my kind of things that I carry when we're doing the pre-trip packing.
Yeah.
The medications, I've got it. I'm going to make sure we have what we need.
Now, this also flows, Megan, into the last fear of what if I can't find like blank. So we've talked a lot about, healthcare, but what about things like food or I don't know, baby needs.
Yeah.
Or travel needs.
Well, they have, formula that, again, they have some kind of formula everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Because all babies take it.
Yeah.
They have some kind of diaper everywhere in the world because all the babies wear them.
Yeah.
So I think, kind of thinking about...
In Asia, they call them nappies.
Nappies.
Isn't that cute?
That's super cute.
We were in Singapore one night and, our youngest was still wearing diapers at the time. And my routine, anytime we got to a new city, was you would check in the hotel, give them baths, and then I go out to the streets to find diapers, wipes, all that kind of stuff. Like, we're in a new country. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in Singapore, I'm like, cannot find the diapers. Do kids not use diapers here? Finally, I went to the counter and she's like, oh, nappies. And we found nappies.
You found nappies. Yeah. But what's the saying? If kids live here, if kids live there, kids can visit.
Kids can visit them. Yeah. And if kids live there, they got it.
They got it.
Name one place that doesn't have kids.
Good question.
Antarctica, Megan. That wasn't a trick question.
I thought it was a trick question.
No.
But I would just say that overall, depending on what you're filling in the blank, we've kind of already talked about medications being wildly available.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to food, that's another thing that people get nervous about.
Because people are probably thinking, my kid's not going to eat all that stuff.
And they probably won't.
And they probably won't.
But we've also had that experience, and we found that anywhere in the world, you can find fruit. You can find like some kind of berry. You can find apples. You can find oranges.
Let me tell you what you can most certainly find. Chicken tenders and fries.
They have chicken tenders and fries everywhere.
Everywhere.
They have rice everywhere.
If you can get your kid on rice, you're good, man.
They have bread everywhere.
Oh, bakeries? Come on.
So you can, even simple meals, like if you brought your child's favorite peanut butter and jelly, you could count on finding bread wherever you went. And you could probably find the peanut butter and jelly there too. But if your kid's picky, you might as well just bring that with you.
If you're in Italy and you want to enjoy pasta, they can make pasta with just butter.
Yeah.
We've done it. We've done it.
Yes,
will they give you looks? 100%.
Yeah. But just in terms of having picky eaters, we have one. She's been able to find things literally everywhere. Remote, in cities, different countries.
Even down to yes, there's cheese pizza everywhere too. But some places they just cannot fathom. You just want cheese and tomato, that's it.
You don't want any seasoning, and you don't want any basil.
And how many times have they fought that idea and they brought the pizza anyways and put the darn seasonings on it, and our kids just give it one look and they go and I said, come on guys, I said nothing. But you know what, our kids have grown. They are trying new things every day. Our rule is you got to take a bite.
Yeah, you got to take a bite. I don't care
if you don't like it, you just got to try a bite.
Yeah. But I would say overall, that idea of what if I can't find blank? Another just last suggestion. There are Facebook groups for any kind of destination you're planning to go on.
There's Facebook groups for everything.
If you're going on a safari, if you're visiting a country, there's a Facebook group for that. So even if you're not on Facebook, maybe get back on it just for trip planning, because you can ask the people that actually live there.
Yeah.
You can poll the audience and say, I'm wondering if I can find this,
and
you're going to get an answer.
The keyword is expat. So there's probably like we were in Lisbon, there were 3 strong expat Facebook groups where we got a lot of info from.
Sure. So you can check out a Facebook group like that. You can pull friends that have visited before. But yeah, just do a little research. But chances are whatever you're looking for, you're going to be able to find there.
Megan, I think we covered some fears.
We did it.
Did we overcome them?
That wasn't the goal. It was just to talk our way through them and get some tips and tricks on how to do the trip anyway.
Yeah, because we are not going into this absent of fear. So parents, we are virtually holding your hands as you're listening to this, as you're planning your next trip, as you're thinking about this trip that you're about to go on. I hope that, the stuff that we talked about is semi-helpful. If we missed a fear, if we didn't talk about something, or you have another tip or trick that you like to add or contribute, please do. You can comment on this on YouTube. You can send us a DM on Instagram, whatever it may be, Facebook Messenger. Reach out to us, because our goal is we just want moms and dads to unite and travel with their kids. And as you do that, we hope you do not forget to pack the snacks. We'll see you in next week's episode.
Bye.
Bye.